Hey everybody, it's Rick. I'm going to be doing some shading tonight, at least putting on my first layer of shading that I would share. Depending on the type of, tone and tonal values that are in the photo itself, the reference photo, really kind of determines what pencil I start with. The lighter the shade, I usually start with like an H, and then I'll usually go over it a few times, different areas get darker, B and 2B. Again, I'm going to work on this blending area last, but for now, this is a normal piece of paper I'm going to lay over here so I don't smudge it. I'm just going to lay down a little graphite here with a H pencil, which tends to be a little grayer, I think. Again, depending on the type of tone you're trying to match. Depends on what kind of pencil, at least I start with. These don't have any scripts or anything, so I'm just going to kind of talk as I go. I'm not used to talking as I draw, so bear with me here. But what I do is I get it nice and sharp, and if I need a needle point, I'll use like the sandpaper to get like a really fine tip for doing like facial hair. I'd rather get a sharp, hard pencil and press a little harder for facial hair to go darker than use something soft and you're constantly sharpening. Another good tool is you can get this in 0.3 or 0.5, which is this, with different lead types, to do like facial hair and going over the dark spots. Again, this is a 2B lead in here, but you can get, I got, let's see, HB, I got B and 2B. I also use and like these clutch pencils a lot. I don't get a bunch of them, I got 4 actually, and the ones I use the most, HB, 2B, and then I took, oh, actually this is what I was looking for. This is a clutch pencil with, I don't know if I can pull it out, but I went to a hobby store, Hobby Lobby, and got a needle, like a sewing needle, knitting needle, a really small knitting needle, and put some tape around it so it grabs in there better. So when you push it, this thing gets bigger, and then it kind of tightens on itself as it closes. So this is perfect for like doing whiskers and facial hair, and I'll use my trusty weird looking thing my dad got in a garage sale. I think it's for making fishing lures or something, because you can't see the scratches. Like if you're doing scratches, this won't really require any scratches, but for like hair and stuff, I'll get the light on it really good like that, and then you can see like where the scratches are. Then when you go over it with the graphite, the scratches magically appear, and that's the negative, some of the negative space drawing I'm going to get into later. But for now, I don't want to get too sidetracked. You can use a little hand sharpener for these clutch pencils, or one of these things, which has got a little grinder inside. Make sure I don't get any. What you do is you open it, let it drop into the one measuring level, drop it in, spin it. You can dust it off in this little thing in there, or I usually take an old kneaded eraser and get the extra graphite off like that, and then you put it back in here, release it, and then push it back down to the proper height so it doesn't break off. So it's a 1, 2, 3 thing. I really like that. Also, if you wear your pencils down instead of throwing them away, I save them. And for $5 I got this at Blick's. It's just an extension, so I use this really small stubs for just wasting pencils, like on the dark areas, if I don't want to wear it on a brand new pencil. Part of the problem there is keeping it sharp, so you got to take it out, stick it in your your pencil sharpener. I'm going to go over a couple other tools that I use. There's tortillons, or tortillons, or I don't know how you say them, but I found the solid blending stumps is what I've heard them called. Come in a variety of shapes, sizes. I've got some really small ones for doing like really tight corners and such. I like those a lot. Obviously everybody uses the kneaded erasers. You could do like a knife edge for swiping hair or cutting out wrinkles, whatnot. And I don't know if you guys have heard of sticky tack, but this is called blue tack. It's not even sold in the United States. It's like poster putty, you know, for putting up posters on your wall without making nail holes. You can get real specific and get a real nice tight point. Let's say if you got too much graphite in the key highlights on the eyes or something, this just pulls it straight out. It doesn't. It's kind of sticky, so it doesn't swipe really good. But it's more of a specific type of eraser need, I would say. This is a Tough Stuff stick eraser. You know, it's kind of what comes in the end of mechanical pencils. And then what I'll do is I'll take like this carpet knife and I'll cut like a knife edge, or you can cut a point edge or whatever you need. But that's also good for specific things like cutting out wrinkles or hair highlights or whatnot. I also use my wife's old blush brush for getting dust off instead of blowing on it. Last thing you want to do is spit on your paper, which we've all done probably. And this is another magic little tool. Comes in all shapes and sizes. I think it's for painting. This is actually rubber, and it does not remove the graphite from the paper as much as the blending stumps. So it's real specific oriented. I use it for wrinkles, you know, on other sides of things that you want to kind of move it around. And the different kinds of graphite you have on there determine the response you'll get from these. Like, you know, the more waxy or darker graphites they kind of smear like a crayon-y type thing. So play around. Don't just jump in and start wiping up your drawing and ruin it that way. I guess the only other real tool I use is a little file for sharpening my needle, and I have a couple different sizes. That's my dog barking. Here, hold on a second. Okay. Didn't want my dog to be barking up a storm in the background there, so let's see what he's up to. So anyway, that's kind of an overview on the tools. We're going to jump right in, lay down a little graphite. I do a overhand, what do you call it? Overhand grip, I guess you'd say. And then looking at Bruce Willis's thing, sometimes I always print them in exactly the same size, just because that's the way I've trained my eye and my brain to kind of draw what I see. And you know, I've always just done that. As a kid, my mom told me I used to just draw like, you know, album covers like Hansel and Gretel or stuff like that, and she was always amazed at how good I was as a little kid. I'm talking like 5, 6, 7 years old. I wish she says she still has them. I would love to see them. I don't know where they are now, but you can see this like highlight right here. So I kind of blend in the shape of the feature, and sometimes like on a forehead, which is kind of hard. It took me a long time to, you know, and develop, you know, the right techniques for laying down. Well, which direction do you know, do what I'm doing here. So anyway, first, this is again H pencil. I'm just going to lay down a bottom layer, and I kind of blend, or at least I do this in the direction that the skin's going, if that makes sense. So if you know the shape of the cheek is like this, I just kind of go like that. And as you can see, there's more highlights in here, so I'm not going to lay it down that thick there. But one thing I've learned too is a little phrase I've coined, tone before detail. In other words, I don't want to get into drawing all these little tiny, you know, squinty lines and wrinkles until I've gotten the right tone down. And one of the things I do is I got this directional light here, as you see. It's got a mag glass on it, and it just came undone in the back, but you don't want to waste your time doing all that and then blend it away, you know.